Hey, how's it going?
It's going pretty well.
That's good. How's this last week been for you?
This last week has actually been a pretty good week for me.
Oh yeah, why is that?
Um, I've I've just been able to do a lot more with my family. I've been pretty on top of applying some of my cooking skills to my daily life and my interactions with my kids. So it's been going really well.
That's so great to hear. So you're feeling like you can use some of these skills just independently without like just whenever you as needed kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah, I
Good.
do.
I'm really glad to hear that. So today you'll see that I shared with you a Google Slides, just kind of including our session plan and some of the things I was hoping to cover with you, which includes reviewing your treatment plan again, like we've done in the past, and having another conversation about termination, reviewing some of your skills, and even doing a maintenance plan if possible. How does that sound to you so far?
That sounds good.
Perfect. So we'll start with the treatment plan. You'll see on the next slide that I included your overall treatment goal, which we've said is a reduction in symptoms of PTSD and depression within what used to be 60 days, but we've since updated it to the 90 days. But as indicated by a score of 71 or below on the MPSSR that we've completed a couple times. So that is our overall goal, as you are aware. But on the next slide, I included your actual scores over time. So when we completed the modified PTSD symptom scale, I collected all your scores and put them in one place so that we can look at that. And so you'll see that your score initially, when we first started services, was 99 out of 119. And now the most recent score you completed was a 63. And so, as I mentioned, 71 is indicative of ongoing PTSD. So, as far as this scale goes, you're no longer meeting criteria. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, I just really wanted to highlight that as of now, you're officially not making criteria for the ongoing symptoms of PTSD. But does that sound accurate as far as your personal experience goes?
Yeah, I would say so. Since starting services, I feel like it doesn't really apply as much as it did when I first started. So I understand that.
Yeah, okay. And I mean, it is a pretty significant reduction from the initial score of 99 in October all the way to this at the beginning of December, you were at a 74, and then now towards the end of December, you're hitting a 63. So, I mean, it does say that there are some symptoms still existing, as we know, but that they're not quite as severe. So, that is really, really good to see. Okay, so for one of your treatment goals also included to improve your sleep. We said that you would develop at least two positive coping skills to help improve your quality and duration of sleep. And so some of those skills, we implemented the deep intentional breathing or the diaphragmatic breathing, and the mindfulness. And how are those things still working for you as far as like the last 2 weeks? Do you feel that your sleep has improved?
Yeah, so I've been able to utilize the deep intentional breathing before bed, which really helps me um, fall asleep faster. And I'm finding that I'm staying asleep longer. So I'm getting a better quality of sleep.
Oh, good. That's so good to hear. I mean, at the when you first started services, you were saying you're getting about 4 hours of sleep, and even I want to say like halfway through services, you're still only about like 5 hours of sleep. Where do you think you're at these days? What is sleep looking like for you now?
Now I would say I get close to a good night's rest around like 7.5 to 8 hours.
Oh, wow, that's really, really good to hear. I think that's of course an improvement from the 4 hours. That's almost double, so that's really exciting to hear. And you're using the deep intentional breathing, and how often do you feel that you need to use that to see these benefits?
Um, I would say I use it, I want to say like maybe 5 out of 7 days because it has become a like routine for me as far as like getting myself to sleep. Um, but like I don't really find myself having to use it in the middle of the night because I'm not waking up as often. So I'm like able to like sleep through the night. So it's kind of just part of my daily routine most days of the week.
Perfect. That's a great use of the skill, and I'm glad to hear that you enjoy it enough and are receiving enough benefits that you feel comfortable using it all the time.
Hmm.
And so, what about just your general like what do we call it? Like your sleep routine before you're like as you're getting ready for bed? Has that changed in a positive way that you've really noticed?
Yeah, it has. Because you know, doing the deep intentional breathing, I've been able to utilize the mindfulness and the self-care as like preparation for bed. So like, like doing like a facial routine and incorporating that into my nightly routine has been helpful. And it at the end of the at the end of the day, I feel like well rested, I guess you could say, like or like ready for sleep. Um, so yeah, it's been a positive influence.
Nice. So, I mean, our initial goal was to improve your sleep to 5 hours. And so we did accomplish that goal earlier on. But then, of course, we always want to improve as much as we can. So it sounds like what you're saying is that your sleep routine is in a really good place right now. You have a consistent use of the mindfulness and deep breathing, and you're more intentional about your use of self-care. Um, so, at least from my perspective, it seems like this goal was well accomplished. Do you feel the same?
Yes, I do.
Okay, perfect. Then that brings us to our another the second goal that we had, um, which was when you first reported that you were afraid your ex-husband will show up every day, so you weren't going out in public. So for that goal, we initially did the identification of the 3 people in your life whom you feel safe with, um, which you reported was your mom, your dad, your friend Tanya, your friend Cody, and even more recently, the neighbor Maria you said you become closer with. And so let's see, we also did the exposure therapy. And last our session, you reported that you were able to now independently go out in public and do things even without the support of a friend or a family member. Has that positive progress maintained in the last couple of weeks? Do you still feel like that's something you feel comfortable doing?
Yeah, it has. I I do feel more comfortable running like, errands and things um independently. But of course, occasionally like if the kids want to go with me or if I go with my mom, like, there's that. But I'm finding I'm able to be more independent. Like if I need to go to the store for something,
Yeah,
um, I'm finding that I'm able to do that on my own and without needing somebody to go with me. Um, it's it's becoming a more regular thing.
that's really, really great to hear. So do you feel that you think about like when you're saying you need to run an errand to the grocery store, is it to the point where you still think about, oh, I would like someone to go with me, or is it to the extent that it's almost second nature now, like you feel like you can just run out of the house? Where are you as far as that goes?
Um, I would say, yeah, I think about whether or not someone can go with me. But everybody's either at work or school, so there's that, well, you know, I should just go on my own. So I can't say that it's like second nature, but I'm hoping to get there.
Yeah, and that's totally expected to be where you're at right now is it's a really good place to be. You've improved so much from the beginning as far as previously being more isolated and just avoiding going out in public. So this is a huge jump from your initial um, services, how you were initially functioning when you enrolled in services. All right, so let's see. Our last goal was to improve your interpersonal time with your children. Um, you said that you wanted to function like a good mom should and helping get your kids to school on time and maybe even make them breakfast. So we initially had the goal of walking with them to school, which you completed early on, and then playing one game with them one time per week for 3 weeks, which you did complete last month. And so we did not we did not create a continuing goal as far as interpersonal time with children. And so I just wanted to check in and see how has that been going for you without having a goal in place, like your ability to independently initiate that.
Yeah, without a goal in place, it it's not as structured, but that's okay because like instead of playing a game, we kind of, you know, made our own like schedule. So I do walk the kids in the morning, and then after school, instead of playing a game, we do homework together. And that's kind of an everyday thing, you know, it's for like 20 to 30 minutes, nothing past that, but it's something that we do together. Um, and then, you know, over the weekends, we'll, you know, do an occasional trip to the park. Um, but that's something we've kind of, well, I've kind of asked, you know, the kids if they wanted to do because we used that structure in the beginning to meet that goal. And we wanted to make it like a regular thing. So we were able to like implement that into like everyday life.
That's amazing. You're making your own goals, like, and working with your kids, allowing them the autonomy to help make goals with you. That sounds really great.
Yeah, it's going well.
Yeah, and so also when you're saying like you spend time with them to do homework, that's pretty much going to be an everyday thing, of course. And then the walking with them to school. So your interpersonal time, whether or not it feels structured or as purposeful, it's still like a lot of really good quality time with your kids. So that's going great.
Yeah.
So, in thinking about all of your treatment goals, in sum, the increased time with your kids, the fear of public places, the improved sleep, and just overall your reduction of symptoms of PTSD and depression, um, do you feel that you have met your goals and are in a place where you can function more independently without services?
Yes, I feel like I met my goals and I've been able to use the tools that, you know, like you've given me to help with like dealing with those feelings and um yeah, it's been a positive influence.
That's really, of course, the goal is to improve on all these symptoms and no longer need therapy, as we've talked about. That's why we create your goals in such a specific way so that we can decide at the end of the day, was this goal met or was it not? And at least from my perspective, it seems like all your goals have been met, which is why I would like to have a conversation about terminating services. And what that does mean is that I believe that you are ready to independently use and access your skills to manage whatever symptoms are remaining. Like we noticed with your symptoms of PTSD, your score is not zero. And so there will be some continued work, of course. We're always working to improve. Um, but how would you feel about this session being our last official session with possible maintenance or follow-up sessions as is needed?
Yeah. I'd feel like it's sudden, but a good sudden. Like, I would feel comfortable with it. I think that I would like a follow-up sesh, like maybe just like later down the road, just kind of like a check-in. But for now, I do feel like it's a good ending or to be continued.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely don't want to leave you hanging. And even though it doesn't matter how much we talk about termination or how much we talk about completing our goals, like it always will still feel like a little bit nerve-wracking, not feeling like there's someone to meet with regularly or not feeling like there's a specific goal in place. Um, but you have shown really, really great improvement and you're actively using your skills without need for specific goals in place. And how do you feel about that? How do you feel about your ability to continue using your resources and using your goals, using your loved ones um, without therapy?
I feel motivated because of the positive, results that have came out of our therapy sessions. My family sees me as more engaged and not as withdrawn as I used to be. And so it's kind of been improving my relationships with my parents and my kids. So, like those are the most important people to me. So I can only hope that, that extends out, to my family and friends, which my circle is getting bigger. So having them see that change in me, it's been motivating for me to stay on this path, um, instead of, the very uh, dark path that I was on. So yeah.
Yeah. So your family's starting to see the changes, which is very motivating as well. And um, you're right, your circle has grown. That is something I didn't mention earlier, but it's been a significant improvement as well. You mentioned at the beginning of services that you didn't really have friends or didn't really have connections outside of your parents and your children. So that's huge. Have you gotten together with your friends anytime in the last few weeks?
Well, mostly it's been with my neighbor just because she's my neighbor. So, when I get done taking the kids, walking the kids to school, I'll go over and have coffee or tea with her in the morning. And we'll chat and then, go about our day. So yeah.
Perfect. All right. So let's see. You mentioned a lot of your skills. I just want to also like review some of them. So you said you use the deep intentional breathing almost every day to support with sleep. You use mindfulness as well. You talked about your improved interpersonal time with kids, um, and even spending time now with Maria, your neighbor. What about going out in public places for just fun, like unrelated to specific, like what are they called? Like just going to the grocery store or things that you need to do. Yeah.
Yeah, well, recently I have gone to the movies with my friend Cody, which was really nice. It was nice to have some adult time, outside of my parents and the kids. It was a nice little going out. And like I said, I do have coffee with Maria in the mornings, and I don't know, like I want to take a trip with the kids, something fun to do. But with them being in school, it's kind of hard. So we have to just, schedule or plan something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really great. Seeing a movie with Cody, that's something new and that's really great that you felt comfortable and ready to do that and are taking charge of your own self-care routine even outside of the home. So that's also really great.
Yeah.
Um, so you have all these skills in your pocket. It seems like you're using them actively. But I do want to emphasize that these skills are not the reason for all of your improvement. you've improved so much because you're continuing to put in all this effort and you're really just persevering through all of these great challenges, all of these intense challenges that you've experienced. So I don't want you to think these skills are the reason you improved. I want you to really know that it's just because of your own effort.
Yeah.
All right. So, being that you did say you could feel okay terminating services, of course, with check-ins and follow-ups in the future, I would like to create a mental health maintenance plan. Have you heard of this or created one of these before?
No, I haven't. What is it?
Okay, so it is basically a plan that we create together that helps us, um, or it's something that you'll be able to keep with you to review what some of your triggers are, what some of the warning signs are that show that you need to use one of your skills or potentially even return to services. Like it's just a comprehensive place where you can check in with yourself to see how things are going and whether or not you need to use some of your skills or seek additional help.
Okay.
Okay, so I have this included in the PowerPoint that I shared with you, so we can you can read it with me as I read it out loud. But this mental health maintenance plan, like I said, is mostly just to ensure that all your strategies are in one place so that you can ensure that your mental wellness continues. So when you don't have therapy to go to each week, you can still look at this one document and remind yourself of all the great things you learned, um, or let you know if you need to call me or call a friend. So it starts by us together identifying your triggers. So what a trigger would be is anything that can bring you back to the mental health issues, your PTSD, your depression. So it can be active thoughts or people, it can be places or things, um, really anything that makes you feel like you're re-experiencing those symptoms again or that you're going to. So can you think of 4 potential triggers that we can include on your maintenance plan?
Well, yes, seeing my ex-husband.
Absolutely. I'll write that one down.
Um, I would say maybe a trigger would be like passing by my old neighborhood.
Okay. What about specific thoughts? Are there any thoughts that may be triggering for you?
Um, yeah, like, just like those thoughts of like feeling like unworthy. Um, or like, I don't know, like unloved.
Okay. Um, what about specific activities? Is there anything that you can do that would be like especially triggering for you?
Activities.
Or maybe even like isolating behaviors or
Um, mm, I can't really think of any activities.
okay. And so we have 3 so far. We can always come back to and review it. It doesn't have to be set in stone at this moment. So let's see. The next section, we also have warning signs or symptoms, thoughts, feelings, behaviors that indicate that your mental health might be at risk. Some examples include those sleep issues, social isolation, stress. Do you have any ideas off the top of your head about warning signs?
Yeah, the social isolation. Um,
with the social isolation, so of course it's okay to isolate sometimes. And what do you think would be like the amount of time or some type of way to indicate that this socialization has become too much?
Um, my warning sign would be like maybe like skipping days that I walk the kids to school. So like missing too many days like of taking them. Because if I skip walking the kids to school, then I skip coffee with Maria, which will throw my whole day off.
Okay. And so if you missed one day, would that be an indication, or how many days do you think would be an indication?
I'd say probably missing 2 days,
Okay.
especially like if they're back to back.
Okay.
So two consecutive days.
Perfect. Okay. What other warning signs, such as thoughts, feelings, or behaviors, could indicate that your mental health is at risk?
Mm, as far as thoughts, like just feeling myself becoming unmotivated or like depressed.
So some of that reduced motivation
Hmm.
and feelings of depression, again, kind of creeping back in. Um, Sometimes here on like with warning signs such as that, we'll use like a scaling question. So if let's say your depression, for example, with 0 indicating there's no depression and 10 indicating like it's really bad and you should probably um, like call a hotline immediately. Um, what
Hmm.
what number would be like
A
a,
warning.
yeah, thank you.
Um, a warning sign, I would say maybe like a 4 or 5.
Okay. Like 4 to 5 out of 10 would
Yeah,
mean that things are not going as planned and need to intervene in some way.
yeah.
Let's see. What about things such as your sleep challenges reverting back or um, some of the other symptoms that you were experiencing prior? Would you be see those as warning signs?
Yeah, I would. So my sleep, like any disturbance with my sleep, I feel like would be a warning sign, especially because I had issues with being able to fall asleep and stay asleep. So, um, that would be a warning sign for like those intrusive thoughts.
Mhm. So if you're experiencing those intrusive thoughts, I know you were also experiencing the nightmares before. Um, about how many days per week would this need to occur for it to be a warning sign? Is one enough, or would you need more than that?
Mm, no, I think I would need more. I think I would need at least like 2 to 3 days.
Okay, right. And let's see if we can come up with one more warning sign. Trying to think back on some of your original symptoms included like flashbacks or even feeling detached from your body, um, fatigue all the time, things like that.
Yeah, I think fatigue would be the biggest warning sign. Um, I would say like napping would be my warning sign. And I would say maybe 2 to 3 days per week would be not the norm.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good one too. I remember you expressing that you were napping throughout the day and that was interfering with your interpersonal time with your children. So that's definitely a good one to be aware of. All right. So now that we have warning signs and triggers in place, let's talk about self-care, which are the things that if you're warning signs, if these triggers are coming up or you're starting to notice them, then what self-care activities you can choose from to try and reduce those feelings of stress, try and counteract those things that are occurring.
Yeah, so my first self-care activity would be walking. Something I like to do with the kids and on my own.
So
Mm,
independently or with the kids. Um, Anywhere specific, or do you just like to walk in general?
just around the neighborhood because it's close.
Nice. That's another self-care activity.
Well, the one I'm heavily invested in right now is my nightly routine,
Mm,
like facial routine.
I might need to be invested in that one as well. I might have to add that to my self-care routine.
It's a good one. It's a good habit for me. Um, and also for self-care, I've taken to, like um doing like a family style dinner meal every night, so that we can all sit and have dinner together.
Oh, that's great. That's every night?
Most nights,
Oh,
yeah.
that's really great. I like that. That's definitely a really nice way to spend time with the family and bring everyone together after a long day.
Mhm.
Perfect. All right. So then we have the last, or not the last section, the second to last section, which is coping strategies. So these are some of the skills or things that you've learned to help you relax, improve communication, or just reduce the symptoms that you're experiencing. So where the previous section was like things you can do, activities, this one is more like skills focused. So what are some
Mm.
coping strategies?
Um, well, the mindfulness for sure. I would say communication, um, more than anything is with, people who are in support of me.
Yeah.
Um, so communicating, what I'm experiencing or feeling in that moment is important.
Yeah.
Um, I would say, yeah, the deep breathing, because I use it as a form of relaxation.
Perfect. Okay, so we have mindfulness, communicating with friends and family. That's definitely a huge one. And especially with our conversation about terminating services. Of course, you can always call me and we can set up additional sessions. But just having people who are more accessible as needed is definitely an important thing.
Yeah.
Okay, and so the last section is returning to therapy. So it's states that it's normal to experience problems or uncomfortable emotions. However, when they become too intense or last for too long, that's how you might be able to know that it's time to return to therapy. So for your case, how would you determine that? What seems like a reasonable way to determine, like, I need to return to therapy?
Mm, I feel like like being aware of the warning signs and my triggers, So for my warning signs, I know that I would start to feel a little uncomfortable if I'm having those experiences. I would say 3 or more times per week.
Okay. So
And
sorry, go ahead.
oh no, go ahead.
I was just gonna say for warning signs in general, you know that you need to activate some of your skills when it's 2 to 3 times per week, but then once it exceeds the 3 times per week, that's when you're gonna take steps to initiate therapy again.
Yeah, I think I would need to check in.
Okay.
For the triggers, depending on which one, I'm not sure. I I think one event would do it for me, but I would hope that wouldn't happen.
Right. Um, and that's fair too. Like just this document is just to help us like make sure that it's really thought out, something to reference, but of course it always comes down to best judgment. You know yourself better than anyone else, and if anything happens and you decide, yep, that's it, I need to go back to therapy, then of course that is probably the best option for you.
Yeah. I think I would try, you know, leaning on my supportive like people, but like you said, like it just depends on the event. Like if I ran into my ex-husband, like I in that moment I couldn't tell you how I'd react.
Right.
Um, so yeah.
Perfect. And like I said, we can always modify this. Well, it doesn't have to be we, but this document can be modified. You can always update it, add to it. If you want to take stuff off, add more. Um, it's just for your use and your reference. And so let me see. The last thing I wanted to see if you're interested in doing is what we call a termination ritual. And this one is specifically called the treasure chest activity. Um, but we wouldn't do, so let me explain it first and then see if you're interested. Um, basically, what it is kind of like the mental health treatment plan that we just created, where it like compiles all of your skills, all your resources, self-care all in one place. Um, so that you can access it, but it's like more of a fun and cute way to keep it all together. And I do find that people tend to reference it more often. Maybe it's just because it's cute, but so what it physically looks like is all these little note cards with, again, your skills, your self-care activities, all in one place. And then you just put them in a cute little box and you call it your treasure chest. And so it shows everything you've learned over time and yeah. Does that sound like something you'd be interested in doing?
Sure.
Okay. So being that, of course, we are virtual, normally in-person sessions, what we would do is in the prior session, like decorate a little box and make it all cute. But since we're over telehealth, then it would just be up to you if you want to decorate it, otherwise no pressure. So for now, all we'll do is write together what would go on those little cards. And so we've already kind of done half the work with your mental health treatment plan. But you'll see here, so like um, all the cards are different colors. And so the blue represents strengths. And these are strengths that you've identified within yourself and strengths that I've identified within you as well. And so we can just write down some of those and then, of course, always add more to it later. But let's start with strengths. What are some strengths that you've identified within yourself?
Um, that I'm hardworking, intentional, motivated, and friendly.
Absolutely. Those are really great. I have noticed those things as well. And I've noticed that you're committed to your children, you're committed to your family. So these are all things I will write down, and then we can have them on the, well, you can do it however you feel works best for you. Some people do a different card for like each strength, or you can do them all on one blue card. Again, it's more so just like a fun activity to keep all of your resources in one place. And then we have the red cards would indicate coping skills. So what are some coping skills that we can include there?
So I feel like we said some of those earlier. So like mindfulness, communication, deep intentional breathing. Um,
Absolutely. And then supportive people that you've identified in your life that you can go to. Who would that
mhm.
be?
So my parents, my friend Cody, friend Tanya, and my neighbor Maria.
Perfect. And then for the orange card, that's where I will include some hotline numbers, my phone number, how to re-enroll in services, if you ever determine that those are some things you need, just so it's all in one easy place. And
Okay.
then purple, excuse me, would include some of your self-care activities. I know you mentioned walking, said you went to the movies with Cody. What
hmm
else?
Family dinner,
Right.
my nightly routine.
Next. And then pink is for inspiration. You can write down future goals or motivational quotes. I wrote down self-care is not selfish. I think that's a great reminder. Anything, what's a future goal that you would like to include in this section?
Um, a future goal would be to, I don't know, to be employed.
That is a great goal, to be employed, something to look forward to, something to work towards. And even just that the process of creating goals for yourself now that therapy isn't going to be continuing. Um, Even if they change over time, like you saw, we had to change your treatment plan to support what was working for you at the time and what wasn't. And so just the process of creating goals is really important. And then finally, we have just general things that you learned in therapy. Um, Whether it be, of course, you learned how to do the deep breathing, how to do mindfulness. What else is something that we can include here?
So the challenging automatic negative thoughts
It's a good one.
was good. And I think, I mean, I'd known it, but I felt like more comfortable now in my communication skills.
Oh, that's really good. So I feel like you can more comfortable in that. How do you mean?
Like with just being able to, identify those thoughts and verbalize my actual feelings. So not letting those like intrusive thoughts, you know, decide my mood or my feelings. And I've been able to communicate that not only with you, but with the important people in my life as well, so that they can better understand me and so that I can, instead of holding it all in, I can lay it all out and express how I feel.
And that gives them the opportunity to support you, right? When you're able to communicate to them.
Yeah, they're less frustrated with me for sure.
Oh, um, so that's a great start for our ritual. I think you get the whole idea on how it works. Of course, it's you can always add to it. I know a lot of us have kept ours for years and just over time just keep adding to it. Um, and like I said, if it's something you're interested in, you can decorate a cute little box and do the whole thing. Um, but this is just our termination ritual. So what I would like to do before we end session is you mentioned a check-in or a follow-up like a maintenance plan, and especially so it doesn't feel like our terminate or like services just terminated too quickly. So in scheduling that, I know or I know that we've been scheduling them every 2 to 3 weeks to meet. And so, how would you feel scheduling our next or scheduling a check-in or a maintenance session in about a month from now?
Yeah, that would work.
Okay, perfect. And so we can do that and plan on that. And then, was there anything else that you'd like to talk about or any last thoughts before we end session today?
No, I just wanted to thank you for helping me along and giving me the tools that I could utilize in my daily life. So thanks for that.
Absolutely. It has been my pleasure, trust me. And but don't forget that it's all of the change was you. You did all the work. And I was just here to support, but you did some amazing work.
Thank you.
Welcome. All right. Well, I will see you in 1 month.